Hey guys, what's going on? Wood here. Hey, so today I'm here at Successionville here in Charleston, South Carolina. And this is a very little known battle of the Civil War that actually took place right here. It says Successionville, the Battle of Successionville fought here on 16 June 1862, broke the Union advance through James Island against Charleston. It was the most significant battle of the Civil War in South Carolina. Confederate troops under Colonel Thomas G. Lamar defended simple, unfinished earthwork, later enlarged and named Fort Lamar, which sat in the narrow end of a a funnel-shaped strip of ground flanked by tidal creeks and marsh. Union troops under General Henry W. Benham launched several assaults against the earthwork, which anchored the eastern end of the Confederate line, but were repulsed with heavy casualties and soon evacuated James Island. Altogether, a few days later, a total of 653 Federals and 204 Confederates were killed, wounded, or captured. Of these, a total of 107 Federals and 52 Confederates lost their lives on this battlefield. Walk softly on this hallowed ground. So yeah, guys, I made a video, last year at some point about the 79th New York Highlanders, and if you actually walk around to the other side of this monument, on both sides it has both Union and Confederate regiments, which is what I kind of like about here in the South, is it actually tells you like who fought in these battles and when. And one of the units, as you can clearly tell, is actually right here, the 79th, if you can see it, the 79th New York Highlanders. And today I too am wearing my 79th New York Highlander hat. So yeah, guys, there they are, 79th New York. It's pretty crazy, man. Eventually, as I said, they ended up becoming friends with the 8th Michigan. These two regiments ended up fighting together later on during the Civil War, and eventually the New York Highlanders mixed with the 8th Michigan Infantry were known as the Michi Highlanders because of their combined strengths. But yeah, pretty cool, man. It's one of my favorite, battlefields. It's not really well known. Not a lot of people know about it. But it's a cool battlefield nonetheless. It's definitely worth a check out if you ever come to Charleston. And here are the Confederate regiments who fought here and defended this area during the time of the battle. So, and here's just a monument basically saying when it was erected. It's pretty cool. And if we go over here, here's the original marker for the Battle of Successionville. This was erected in 1924. Pretty cool. And if you actually walk over here, so there isn't much left of the actual, this is more or less a redoubt or a fort during the time of the battle. But as you can clearly tell, there's not a lot left. Like, we got some houses here. And again, there's, a street and some houses over there. But more or less, there's not much left of this place, which is pretty cool. There's still some readouts and stuff. But anyway, here's a few signs that kind of tell you about what happened here during the battle. I'll give you a moment there to kind of pause and read, if you will, if you want. It's up to you. And again, right here. And then here's a famous photo of the 3rd Rhode Island Volunteer Regiment. We're facing rebel sharpshooters when they were trying to attack Successionville here, going through the woods. And here's an actual description of the battle. And above it is an artist's rendition of the battle here at Successionville. And one of my most famous actions, or I would say favorite actions of the Civil War, actually took place here too. I've mentioned this in my video about the 79th New York, if you guys watch my YouTube channel at all. This is an artist's rendition of the 79th New York attacking the redoubt here at Successionville. And these guys were actually the furthest regiment to actually make it into Successionville, which is pretty interesting. So that's why I love this regiment. I love the outfit. And obviously I'm wearing the hat today here at Successionville for the 79th New York. But here's kind of more or less like what Successionville would have looked like during the Civil War, a sketch and everything, or a sketch, excuse me. I don't know why I can't talk today, but of like the action here in Successionville. And there's all these little blurbs, and boxes basically kind of laying out like Successionville and what had happened here. They have the order of battle. and kind of like what time and like how many men and who was with what regiments. That's the Union that I'm pointing at currently. Confederates just right above. I'll show that too in a second. There's the Confederates. And then moving on, we have a map of the battle, what had happened here. And all these little blurbs here kind of tell you, like, this is what happened here, this is what happened there. And you can just kind of follow the arrows and see, like, what happened. You can kind of tell the Union more or less got bottlenecked up and down in between the river and the marsh, which was kind of the Confederate plan and idea. So super, super cool, super interesting. Tells you how many were engaged and their losses. So yeah, anyway, guys, we're going to take a walk over to the battlefield here momentarily. Got a vehicle driving through. Apologize for the background noise. So anyway, let's take a walk over to the redoubts. Change up the camera angle. Now it is kind of interesting, the road actually runs in between the redoubts down there. They just put a road right through the entire place and it runs right down to the end there. So right now, more or less, we're kind of coming up into behind the Confederate lines, or inside the Confederate lines, walking inside the redoubts here at Fort Lamar or Successionville, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. Super cool, super interesting. As I said, it's one of my favorite little battlefields, less known, not a lot of people know about it. Definitely look it up if you get a chance. You know, you learn something new every day. Well, check out the Battle of Successionville. As I said, there's, you know, a home right here. Kind of interesting. This was actually a very bloody and very intense battle for its time during 1862. Look how tall those redoubts are, man. I mean, I'm down here in the sunken lane, and I mean, these things just go all the way up. I mean, it's absolutely crazy how high these things are. At least, I would say 20, 25 feet up. And again, me walking around with my 79 New York Highlander hat through Successionville is kind of blasphemy, but you know, it is what it is. I don't really care. So you're not allowed to walk up on the berms themselves, obviously, you know, for historical purposes and reasons. You know, you can't destroy the property. So sorry, guys. So this is kind of more or less the forward edge of the redoubt here. Right here is the forward edge of the redoubt where the Confederate troops would have been lined up or laying down, defending and shooting down the Union troops as they were approaching through the wood line down through here, coming up this way up the road. And again, they were talking about the marshes. Well, if you can really see, you know, out there, you can see the marsh and why this was kind of like more or less a spot to come and attack, because you know, you wouldn't want to march your guys through a freaking marsh, or at least I wouldn't. I mean, maybe you would, I wouldn't, but it's kind of interesting. You know, we're just kind of walking along the lines here in Successionville. You know, here's more of the redoubt. I'm hoping that, you know, they try and like clear this shit out, you know, that way, you know, people can get up in there and kind of walk around and check it out, you know. Be super interesting if they could. Last time I was here was 4 or 5 years ago, and it wasn't even this nice here. I mean, this was all just trees and just destroyed. You know, I'm glad that somebody actually took the time to clean it up and make it look nice, you know, because you don't really see that very often. So here's something interesting. So if you actually look, this ground here slopes down up, and then it goes up this little embankment. So the Confederates would have been right up on top of here with their cannons and guns, firing down into the Union troops as the Union were approaching from here and moving in mass, trying to attack up the actual embankments. But obviously, as I said, they didn't get very far. But the interesting fact is the 79th New York Highlanders actually came from this direction through this area and actually assaulted and made their way up through, right up through into here. And that action, that famous photo that I showed you, the artist's rendition of the 79th New York, took place right here, right in this area. This is where they got. It's the furthest they ever got, was on top of those parapets right here. You know, absolutely crazy. I could not imagine, especially trying to march, you know, formations through these trees. You know, you see it in the movie Glory. They kind of do it justice with a battle in the woods, you know, but until you're actually here and you're seeing this, like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's super cool though, you know. You ever get a chance, as I said, to come to Successionville, definitely check it out. It's worth it, you know. It kind of makes you humble and see like how the Civil War was fought. And as you can tell too, if you look right across the way, that's more marsh out there, guys. So literally the Union piecemealed this whole assault. They couldn't send everybody in at once. They had to send regiment by regiment by regiment by regiment, and the Confederates and their sharpshooters and their artillery just absolutely cut the Union forces down. You know, as you can clearly tell, you imagine trying to make your way through this. You know, I'm sure though there was a lot of fallen trees too. The Confederates probably made some type of abattis to slow down the Union forces from actually taking this area and taking Successionville. So I'm going to walk through the woods here in a second. I'm just going to kind of show you like the approach of the Union as they try to attack the forward redoubt of Successionville, try and take advantage, or at least from the 79 New York Highlanders, you know, point of view. So again, as I said, you know, here's kind of where like the start of that, you know, ditch, you know, the anti-infantry ditch more or less starts. You know, and as you come down, you're actually coming down into the ditch right here. You can kind of tell we're in an embankment because it goes up this way and it goes up that way, and that's where the redoubt starts. You know, as you can tell, it's probably about, for me, I'm 6 foot, and that's probably standing anywhere from about 20 to 25 feet up right there. I mean, it's very, very, very tall, guys. And as I said, you know, they're trying to clear this shit out, but again, it just goes up, and it just goes up. I mean, I couldn't even imagine trying to assault this, you know, in old Civil War tactics, man. That Napoleonic 18th century tactics. It's just absolutely incredible. The amount of balls you must have had to just try and take this place. Absolutely incredible. It really just kind of makes you appreciate, you know, modern warfare and tactics today, because back then, man, you didn't really have a choice. You went forward regardless whether or not, you know, your commander wanted you to or not. You just went for it. Absolute balls. That's all I can say about it is balls, man. Just absolute balls. You know, and then just get it raked and raked and raked again by Confederate cannon shot, shell, mortar fire, muskets, sharpshooters. I mean, it's just insane. It's absolutely insane. And again, as we kind of walk out towards the road here, as I said, you know, this road obviously wouldn't have been here during the time of the battle. This would have been, you know, all forest and swamp, but, you know, more or less, like, there's a swamp right there on the other side of this little peninsula. Absolutely fucking nuts. So the Union approach would have been coming right down this road right here. Right down this road, right towards Successionville, right here, right where it started. Right here. And this was kind of the fort here in Successionville. So I'll walk up the side of the road just to kind of give you an idea, more or less, like where the earthworks start, or where they should have started. Because obviously they put in the roads, they would have destroyed some of the earthwork. But I'm kind of glad that people are, starting to take care of this place. It's a big deal for this area. Not a lot of people know about this battlefield, so. Right about here is where the start of the berms for the earthworks start for the fortifications of Successionville. So right about here, more or less, is where that, so the ditch goes up into here. I'm sure this is probably all filled in now, but this would have been a ditch right here. And I'm sure it was probably covered in water too, because obviously you have the swamp on this end, and then right through the woods here is that swamp over there. So this probably was all full of water. So you imagine marching up through here, having to attack through the water, up the road, up into the earthworks. Just crazy, man. That's just crazy. That's just absolutely freaking nuts. But, we'll walk through and, I'll show you the inside of this little area. It's kind of the same thing that you saw in the beginning of the video. There isn't a lot here. I kind of wish there was, but there's not. It is what it is. But it's still pretty cool, pretty humbling to see. Very, very interesting. Got some people walking through Successionville right now. So this is kind of, again, the inside of the earthworks, the defensive line. Inside the earthworks. Again, across the street too, you have the earthworks here, which kind of wrap around, kind of around the whole swamp. So these are all fortifications, they were trying to defend, the Confederates are trying to defend this peninsula from allowing, the Union to, or hindering the Union from taking the whole peninsula and having control, and then trying to maybe bombard Fort Sumter, because Fort Sumter at this point was, under Confederate control. So look how high these redoubt hills are. But yeah, and again, here's where you just kind of end. The parking lot's over there, and kind of inside here too, is more or less inside the fortifications of Successionville. So anyway, guys, I'll try to make more videos in the future. Again, I'm sorry, I've had a lot going on in my life. Birth of the daughter, trying to start my Coast Guard career and all that. So anyway, for now, guys, this is Wood. I'm here at Successionville in Charleston, South Carolina. So if you guys want to see more videos or anything like that, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd love to make more, and I'd like to have some more subscribers and talk to people. If you like this video, give it a like or a comment. So anyway, guys, as for now, this is Wood, and I'm here at Successionville. Out.